Live, brought to you from the Eternal Word Television Studios in Birmingham, Alabama.
The compassion of Jesus. The most glorious work of all, to praise God in His kingdom. Moved by the Spirit, one who lives in love lives in God, and God lives in him. What a wonderful thing is our church. This whole network is built on trust. The essence of evangelization is to tell everybody Jesus loves you. We're all called to be great saints. Don't miss the opportunity. Thank you. Okay. Well, we just have wonderful friends. Way back there, way over here. Felt like I was listening to myself. Did you hear that? Tomorrow is Ash Wednesday. And sometimes we're funny, you know, the priest really works hard to get all those ashes on your head. Doesn't look good with your makeup, but might improve it, who knows? I always wondered why men got them over their heads, you know? And what do they do when they got a bald head? I mean, it must be really spread around. But it's a reminder. Now, we have a real problem, and we're a problem for any priest, because from here to here, and we hope he makes it, but usually it drips all the way down our nose. So we're running around all day with ashes down our nose. See, we're a little scrupulous about taking them off, but there they are most of the day. But it's a reminder. It says, dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. Oh, well, we don't expect that, do we? How many of you think of death? How many look forward? Isn't that awesome? There's not a person here looking forward to death. And the reason is we don't know too much about heaven. But we should look forward to death because, well, that's where we're aiming for. You know, you're going to spend eternity somewhere. That's what's so funny. You think like you're going to die like a dog and rot? No. You're not a dog. You got intelligence. You got a mind, a memory, intellect, will. And you make up your mind to do something, you're going to do it. And so you're different. As animals, we're dumb. The dumbest. We used to raise sheep and goats. Well, the goats you can have, but the sheep aren't too bad. Because one goat we found on our roof one day. Nobody knows how he got there, but it took the fire department to get him down. Now, a sheep will never climb up to a roof. But they're very dumb. And I think that's why our Lord called us sheep. But they just don't know what to do anytime. You know, you got enough cough drops here, buddy? Oh, okay, there you are. But anyway, they're not very bright. But we saw one little lamb being born, and he struggled, and he knew exactly where to go for milk. We don't know where to go for milk. Well, I mean, we are dumb. Somebody has to take us, wash us up, put us in a little crib, feed us, wipe us up again, feed us, and wipe us up again, feed us. And that goes on for quite a long time. We can't climb a tree like a squirrel. We can't fly like an eagle. We can't move our nose like a rabbit. We can't do anything. Animal-wise, we wouldn't make it. But see, God gave us a part of himself. That's the awesome thing. See, that's what he did. So he gave me an imagination and a memory. I can remember. I can do anything like that. Then he gave me an intellect to discern. So all of you maybe have wanted to come a long time, so that was in your imagination. That's going to be a nice place to go. And so you figure that out. You have the money, you had to find somebody else going, and then you had to pay. And then you know the whole trip is going to be especially uncomfortable. I mean, you can have the best bus in the world, and it's always bumping up and down. It never stops when you want to stop. And you want to sleep, and everybody else decides to sing. Isn't that true? And then you want to sing, and they're all sleeping. I mean, that's what is that? It's a penance. You're not supposed to enjoy a bus ride. You got to be miserable. Do you know, Lent to me is something like New Year's Eve. Everybody gets drunk tonight. I'm glad you're not drunk. But don't they, Mardi Gras? I mean, they do some pretty terrible things. And some people are up here because they don't want to be down there. Well, why? We do that Christmas Eve. We do it Mardi Gras. And see, the thing is, we're going to do penance for 40 days. So what do you do? Oh, you give up candy. Well, that's pretty good. I'll make a bet, though, if you only give up candy and cake, you won't lose a pound. I never saw anyone that gave up sweets during Lent that lost a pound. Not a pound. Why? Because your motive is wrong. See, for Lent, you're supposed to give up something that's lasting. Because I know not giving up candy isn't lasting. You know, right, that eat Christmas Eve, you're going to gulp down on those Easter eggs. You know that. Well, I don't see the purpose of offering up candy. Why don't you offer up your temper? That's what I'm going to do for that. I'm going to give up my temper and try to be nice to my enemies, wherever they are. But it's nice to be nice to enemies when you don't even know where they are. Maybe they're far, far away, but I don't know them. So that I really can give up that. So I need to give up something that I know is wrong in me. And then perhaps these 40 days will get you in a habit, not this kind of habit, but a habit of not losing your temper, a habit of being nice, a habit of being kind. And begin with your family. You know, sometimes we're just so wonderful to people outside. Then when we get home, we're like bears. What do you want? Well, you'd never say that to somebody outside. You'd say, may I help you? But if it was home, you'd say, get it yourself. Wasn't that what you do? I don't know why we get kind of nasty to our relatives, and then we're so nice to strangers. I guess because we don't live with them. Well, if you're going to be nice, begin at home. But what's the use of being nice to people you work with when you're a bear at home? See? So that's a good penance for Lent, and then maybe you can carry it on. Another one is not to gossip. Not to gossip. See, I don't gossip. I just explain the faults of others. Isn't that what we do? We explain the faults of others, so we don't really gossip. And then we say we always tell the truth. Well, we call that slander. This election year, is it? Nobody's getting excited over it, no? Well, during election year, you watch. Every ad's going to say something nasty about somebody else. In fact, you read that even in toothpaste. Toothpaste. My toothpaste is much better than this group of toothpaste. They're all the same. They do the same. They brush your teeth. The taste is different, but toothpaste is toothpaste. I used to brush my teeth with soda and salt. Now they say that's terrible for your teeth. Well, it's better than not brushing them at all. Why don't you use a toothpaste this Lent that you don't like? Wouldn't that be a nice penance? Get up in the morning, your husband says, "What is this?" It says, "My Lenten toothpaste." What's that? Something I ate. Ate? I said hate. Oh. Now you say that's a simple thing. No, it isn't. I got some terrible toothpaste a couple of weeks ago. And I wanted to get it out of my mouth so bad. It tasted, like cyanide. It's and it was for kids besides. Those poor kids, no wonder they don't want to brush their teeth. And it was terrible. Then suddenly I thought, well, this is a pretty good penance for early in the morning. So I brushed my teeth a little slower and spit it out. But even in the sink, it looked terrible. Well, that's a little penance. Going to a restaurant can be a big penance. Big penance. Did you ever go to a restaurant, especially these ones that keep slinging out hamburgers by the millions, Oh, you can smell that peanut oil when you walk in. And you wonder how many thousands of hamburgers were in that peanut oil before I got it. Well, that could be a penance. Old peanut oil in a hamburger is terrible. Now, we could complain, throw it down on the shelf, and humiliate the waitress, but no, we eat it. It's not spoiled, it just stinks. So, you see, well, those are penances. And we get angry at that kind of thing. I came in there, I paid good money. I bet you didn't tip the waitress. I could never be a waitress. If I had to wait on 9 people at a table and I got a 50-cent tip, I'd take that ketchup. Squirt it on everybody and quit. That's a good penance for Lent. Those waitresses and waiters, they don't get a lot of money. One time, I think I told you earlier, some of you, went to New York, and the cab driver was a woman, and I never saw a woman cab driver, especially in New York. And so we started off, and I said, "Oh, hi." Hi. I said, you been a cab driver long? Yes. Would you like me, the cab driver? Yes. I thought to myself, I don't think I ought to talk too long. It's a bad day for her, you know. And so I shut up. When we got out, she got out, and I gave her a nice big tip. And I said, God bless you. I never saw tears in anybody's eyes as big as hers. She said, no. God bless you. And I thought, you see how wonderful that was? Because I don't know what she was upset about. I don't know what tragedy, what heartache she had. I don't know anything about this woman who is a cab driver. But I do know that giving her that tip meant a lot to her, probably what she needed. That's a nice thing. When you go to a restaurant, be generous. You say, well, I only have $5. Well, I eat $4.50 worth or $4 worth. See, because those people live on tips. They don't get a lot of money. I did that one time at one of these barrels, crackers, or Cracker Barrel. I know it has something to do with crackers in a barrel, so anyway, I gave this young kid a tip. She said, oh, thank you, I can eat today. I said, you mean you're in this restaurant and you can't eat today? No, he said, I just got enough money for my rent. Now see, if you'd have went into that restaurant, and maybe there's something wrong, there's always something wrong, and been angry or picky. But see, if you overcame that, gee, what a wonderful thing that's a penance. Why? Because you don't want to do it. Now I said to him, I'll give you another $1 if you tell me how to run this thing on this table here. He laughed. But see, there are 1,000 things a day, this 40 days, that you can say, this is my Lenten penance. Now you say, why? Why do I have to do a penance? Because you're a sinner, that's why. You are a sinner. And if you say you're not a sinner, St. John says in his epistle, you called God a liar. Didn't think of that, did you? You can't say you don't sin. I know mine has tripled since I'm in television. You're supposed to laugh at that. Looked like you agreed with me, you know? But anyway, we all have it, and what does it do? Sin, a lot of times, is a mistake. It's a mistake sometimes. Sometimes it's deliberate. Sometimes we know we shouldn't do things, but we do them anyway. You know you should go through a red light, you look this way, and you look that way, and off you go. Dangerous. So usually when we sin, we know that we do it anyway. So what is that? It's a lack of willpower. You can't say no to yourself. Now, what does Lenten penance do? First, it begins by putting ashes on your head to remind you that eventually the person that was in that casket is going to be a couple handfuls of mixed bones and ashes. Think of that when you wake up tomorrow morning. Say it's Ash Wednesday. Look good at yourself. Won't be there when you die a few weeks. So the idea is to remind you of death, that's one thing. To remind you do not have here a lasting city. You don't. You're gonna go. But we don't like to think about it, but you're gonna go. Now, the second thing is that when you do penance for Lent, you imitate Jesus, and secondly, you strengthen your will. So when something sinful comes your way, you can say no. See, there's a twofold advantage to doing penance, real penance, not giving up candy, for goodness sakes. Your heart up if that's all you can give up. You give up candy or smoking. Oh, no, that's a nice one. Give that $1.50 to the poor or something. What is it now, $2? Huh? You don't even know? You must not all smoke. But see, if you gave something up, something that cost you, not money, but cost you something in here, then by the end of Lent, you're stronger. Your will is stronger to say no to more important things. See, the whole thing of Lent is not give up candy, sweets, cake, cigarettes. Well, that's smart, cigarettes, because you're just rotting your lungs out. You don't know it, huh? It is getting blacker every day. You ought to look at one. I saw one in formaldehyde. It said, this man smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. And that long was like charcoal, looked like charcoal. And I thought, a little sacrifice, that man would have lived longer. See, it's strength. There comes a time in your life when you have to say no to something very difficult in your life. When to say yes would be so easy. When to say yes might even bring you a compliment, like, oh, you did great. But to say no is harder. And that's where what we call human respect. You know things you should do and things you shouldn't do. But if you want your friends to think well of you, all you teenagers listening, that's how you got in a lot of trouble, wasn't it? They said, oh, come on, take a drink. It's not going to hurt you. One drink won't hurt you. And you didn't want to hurt them. You didn't want to look like you were weak. And so what did you do? You took 1 and then 2 and then 3. See what happens? We call that human respect. You get in trouble. You commit a grave sin because you don't want this person to think ill of you. Do that for Lent. Say no when you have to say no. When saying yes is a very serious thing. See? A nice place for Lenten penance is your car. Especially if you drive the minimum down the highway. Which is what, 45? Is that what it is? And you can feel the vibrations of everybody behind you. And then they look at you like, you gotta come from another world. Well, maybe they're short and their feet don't reach low enough to go faster. You don't know that. That's a nice pen. Not to criticize your neighbor during Lent, driving down the highway. And all you men are notorious for that. That dumb woman don't know how to drive. That'll be a law. Women off the streets. wouldn't that be nice if you didn't swear at somebody while you're driving? Or you had this, you're in a hurry and you get every red light. It's like somebody's after you. Every single red light you get. And the worst is when the slowpoke that you passed goes ahead of you. I mean, that is worth a gripe. But see, during Lent, if you would say, well, Lord, I can give this to you, I'm not going to. I hate people honking their horns at me. I don't drive, but they'll honk their horns at maybe Sister Regina. And she's gone the speed limit. This one time was so delightful. This guy honked his horn, and then he gives you that look. Nuns get a look that's a little worse than women. They're sure we don't know how to drive, see. So he looks at us like, ugh. And I had thoughts, I tell you, I did have thoughts. I thought them, but I didn't express them. That's a good penance for Lent. Anyway, we turned the corner, there was a red light. And guess who was there? My speeding friend. I couldn't help it. I tried, but it's like some invisible being pushed up my arm, and I went. You see, those are, you don't realize how many daily penances we have. I love tea. Not this tea that's flowery like blueberries and elderberry tea and flower tea and leaf tea. I like tea that's tea, strong, looks like coffee. And the worst thing in the world is when you got a bad cold and one of the sisters wants to do something for you so bad. Can I make you a cup of tea? Yeah. When it comes, I look at it, I say, what is that? And she smilingly says, tea. Oh, thank you. Then I look at it again, and I hoping she goes away. She doesn't. So I have to drink it in front of her. A little bit darker than dishwasher. She says, you like it? Yeah. Well, you say that's not true. Yeah, it's true, because she put her heart in making terrible tea. But her heart was there, see. She doesn't know how I like tea, so. And these are little things, little things. You go to the office and you feel bad, and everybody there is happy. Everybody. Even your grouchy boss is smiling. And you're looking around, everybody is smiling and laughing, and you just want to say, drop dead. But you don't. See, that's the virtue. There's just so many, many, many. If you're a saleswoman in a woman's store, especially a shoe store, and you try on one shoe after another, and half of the shoes are on the floor, because this character tried them all on. Not one fit. It's like she had a special shoe, a special foot that only God could create. and you're tired, and then she walks out and she pats you on the head and says, "Sorry, sweetheart, they just don't fit." And you look at this mass of shoes that you got to put back. I think that's very difficult. And for the little money you make, you work hard. Not only hard, but it's a virtue level that's different. Waitresses have the same. Well, give that to the Lord and say, "Well, Lord, I give you this penance." It's a real, honest-to-goodness penance. Not to put your foot out while she trips over 10,000 shoes. See? It's a penance. When somebody comes in, ask for a cup of coffee, but when you bring it, it's too cold. So you bring it back. You got another cup of coffee. What am I going to do with this? It's too hot. And you're thinking to yourself, don't ask me what I'm going to do with it. But if you go back 3 or 4 times like that, and they don't buy anything else, they don't buy a hamburger, they don't buy a meal, there's nothing there worth a tip, and you say, there must be another job around here. Like the time I was in an airplane and it went boom, and all the meals went on the floor. And right beside me was this poor waitress. And she was full of coffee, pie, and whatever else was on my tray. She looked at me and she said, "There has to be a better way to make a living." And I thought that was wonderful, because that's all she said. That's all she said. So in your life, don't just tomorrow, and please go for ashes, leave them there a little while. There's no use going home and washing your face. Everybody, number 1, knows you're Catholic. Number 2, it reminds them that they are going to turn to that same black little stuff. See, it's not a matter of a penance for 40 days. It's a reminder. There's a lot in me that hasn't changed a bit. I'm going to work on that for Lent. And then you have a handle on it, see? Besides, this year you got Jubilee year. So, between now and tomorrow morning, think tonight, what can I really do for Lent? We have a call. Hello?
Hi, Mother Angelica.
Hi. Where are you from?
I'm Joni, and I'm from Delaware.
Uh-huh.
And actually, I have a two-parter.
You what?
I have 2 parts to my question.
Okay.
The first one is, I go back and forth with my friends about this one. They seem to think that there's a Sunday exception during Lent for whatever you've given up or whatever penance you're doing. They seem to think that there's an exception on Sundays, because that you don't have to do that or give that thing up. You can have it then. And that's the first part. And then the second one, I was just wondering if either one, which was more, I don't know, pleasing to God. I don't know if there is one that's more pleasing, but whether you should give up something. For example, for me it would be coffee, or versus doing something, like giving more of your, going to Mass daily if you don't ordinarily do that.
Wonderful. I think going to Mass daily for Lent is wonderful, but why don't you keep it up? So you get in a habit during Lent. Now, Sunday. Well, I really don't know. I never thought of it myself. I suppose depends on what you gave up. If you gave up adultery, it wouldn't. I don't think Sunday would be an exception. I wonder why he said that. Must be somebody out there needs it. Anyway, I would think if you're doing something pleasing to God, that's okay. If you gave up a nap, well, Sunday is a rest day. You're supposed to rest on Sunday. I know what you could do. Just rest and don't go play golf. Oh, look at that. What did I say? I did a thing on golf, a couple of years ago. I didn't intend to, but I do think it's a stupid game. And because you hit a ball and you don't have the slightest idea where it's gone. You think you do. And you don't know where it's gone. And the people you pay, that's what gets me. The people you pay to play golf, do everything in their power so it's hard for you. They put sand and little sand dune. They put a little creek and they put a little thing like that and the holes here and there's no way you can get to it. And so you do all of that on a Sunday. I think that's labor. I think the one who rests on Sunday is the poor guy that carries your bag, see? Because he has to watch you huffing and puffing. And if you don't know how to swing the ball, it's really funny. So he has a nice time on Sundays, but you... So I would be careful what you give up before you can think you can do it on Sunday, see? Like maybe you're a hobbyist and you like to make bird things, you know what you call them? And then you work all day Sunday making birdhouses. No, I think Sunday has to be a day of rest. The Holy Father put out something on really following the day Sunday as a day that belongs to God. Now, that's a good Lenten penance. Some of you don't ever read a spiritual book. Read funnies and crazy things, but you never read a spiritual book. Why don't you go to your local bookstore, hopingly it's a good one, and buy a spiritual book? If you never read the Bible, buy that. And on Sunday, read it. Read a good spiritual book. And you're resting, as the Lord had said you should. At the same time, you're learning something spiritual. You're learning something about God. Now, I don't think if you're fasting, I think you should have a good meal on Sunday. I think that's a good idea. It doesn't mean you have to eat 2 pies, 4 pizzas, and then burp the rest of the week. That isn't what it means, you see. So I would do something exceptionally well. And in America, we have not learned what the day of rest means. We're always doing something we can't do during the week. Now, if you're a nurse and you got to work or a doctor, that's different. But I think I would do that on Sunday. We have another call. Hello?
Hi, Mother.
Hi.
I'm Chris, and I'm from Coventry, Rhode Island.
Uh-huh.
And I enjoy watching your show.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I have a question.
Yeah.
Last year, we went to get our ashes, and I had my son, who was 5, and my daughter, who was a year old. And they didn't give either one of them ashes. And I was wondering why. And this year, he's in 1st grade, and he goes to a Catholic school. And they told him that he wouldn't be getting ashes again this year, and it was only for the big kids. And I was wondering why they said that.
Only God knows, huh? I don't know. You know, it's so funny at this day and age. At this day and age, kids in 3 and 4 know the facts of life. They know everything. They've been exposed to violence, to murder, to everything. But we don't give them ashes. They do dangerous things. See, they don't always say, well, you don't want to teach them the Trinity because it's too deep. I think some of the stuff they learn on television is equally too deep. See, don't cut God out. If they don't give you ashes, take some of yours and say, here, sweetheart, we'll share ashes together. They need to learn. The thought of death, says Alphonsus Liguori, is a constant reminder not to sin. Last week I told you about the car accident we saw. Half the car was gone and crushed like tissue paper. Now these people were probably in the car talking, laughing, whatever, and all of a sudden, gone. Nothing left. But see, we need that. Excuse me. Because children listen to so much television, they know about death. They know everything, more than they need to know. So if for some reason, I don't know, they don't give them ashes, well, share yours. Make a nice act of love and charity. We have another call.
Hello, Mother Angelica. My name is Teresa. I'm also from Rhode Island.
Wow, wonderful. What's your question?
I looked forward to the Jubilee year all last year. Every time I listen to, usually it's Father Augustine who says it, that in order to receive the plenary indulgence, one of the requirements is a detachment from sin. I end up feeling like, is there anybody actually going to get the plenary indulgence?
Did I hear right? Well, there's all kinds. Did she say discipline? Huh? Oh, you should be here. You're going to. See, you have to be detached from your sin. So it may be a slow process. I don't know what kind of sin you're talking about. See? There's all kinds of sins. There's gluttony. You eat more than you need. Detached means you can get away from it. So you have to get it. You cannot be detached from sin just during Lent. That's a contradiction. If you have a habit of sin, any kind of grievous sin, you've got to be detached forever. You can't die, go to heaven, and say, Lord, you got me at my undetached week. You can't. If it's a grievous sin, and there is a grievous sin that we call mortal, used to call mortal sin, and you know it separates you from God. You have to stay away from it. That's what it means being detached. You've got to stay away from it. If there's any venial sin, you have a habit of lying. Oh, you say it's not a big lie, it don't hurt anybody. But it's a habit. A bad habit. And there's no, there is such a thing as venial sin. And when you go to communion and offer that communion for your venial sin, they're wiped away. You got to know that. But detachment from sin is a necessary thing in Lent and outside of Lent. Because we're just kind of on a wire, and we're just kind of going this way and that way, and you don't want to fall. So a detachment has to be a constant thing. Like if you tell dirty jokes, you don't want to just stop for Lent. See, that's bad, because you offend God. Now you can stop for Lent, try and hope to get you out of that habit. See? But you can't just do that. So if you feel you're attached to a grievous sin, you've got to go to confession, try to get the indulgence, and then from that moment on, no more sin. We have another call. Hello? Hi.
I wanted to ask, how can we learn to love sacrifice?
Well, takes time. Takes time. First, you have to love God a lot. And then you love sacrifice. And the only way you can love sacrifice is to know how awesomely wonderful it is. In effect, Padre Pio said that if we knew how awesomely precious is pain and sacrifice, we would covet it, we would go after it. So when things are hard and we can do them well, that's a sacrifice, see? But if I'm thinking of Jesus, for example, and I think if we have a habit of having proud, arrogant thoughts, and I look at him crowned with thorns, then I can make a sacrifice. See, if I find myself thinking a proud thought, then I must give that to Jesus and think a humble thought. So it takes time. The saints were comfortable with sacrifice. We're not too comfortable. I mean, we're not people who like sacrifice. But we have to, see. And after a while, when sacrifice and love for Jesus go together, then we love the sacrifice because it brings us closer to the Lord. See, anything that's hard brings us closer to God. And I can make that intention. Intentions are important. Intentions are very important. We wake up in the morning and say, Jesus, I give my whole day to you. That's a sacrifice sometimes because you don't feel like talking early in the morning. So you get that black stuff we call coffee. You're not even halfway awake, let alone nice. Well, maybe for lunch you ought to be nice before your coffee. Try that. Isn't that humiliating to think that it takes that black stuff, strong, from time without sugar, without cream, to wake you up. And it isn't just the waking up, to make you halfway decent. I gotta have my coffee. Where is it? Where's the coffee? Right in front of your nose if you had your eyes open. See, so that's a humiliation. I think it is. Well, maybe you could give that up and try to say, Lord, this Lent, I'm going to be nice before my coffee. Try it. I bet you don't make it. That would be funny, wouldn't it? Huh? All these homes in America trying to be nice before coffee. Wouldn't that be nice, huh? Wouldn't that be wonderful? But the more you can sacrifice, well, let's take this. If your child is sick and has high fever and you got to stay there day and night, you love that. The sisters and I took turns staying up all night with Sister Rayfield. We loved it because she was there and we were with her. See? But that kind of sacrifice is something you like to do and you do. We have another call. Hello? Hi.
My name is Ronald.
Yeah, how are you?
Okay. My question is, on Wednesdays and Fridays during Lent,
The
don't you have to fast?
You're talking about food?
Yeah, like on bread and water.
Oh, I don't think we do that anymore. I don't know anybody does it. I think there may be a few very brave people. Tomorrow you must fast. I know you're not going to like this program, but tomorrow, Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, you have to fast, and also Good Friday. Now, and you should stay away from meat on the Fridays of Lent. See, that was a sacrifice imposed on us by the church years ago, when we all ate fish on Friday. And fish is good for you. It's brain food, whatever that is. But it is brain food, some fish especially. So feed your brains on Friday. I think that's a good idea, don't you? That's brain food. And if we were smart, then we'd eat fish more often, because it's all brain food, some fish more than others. But see, even though we don't have the bread and water fast we used to have, but on tomorrow, Wednesday, unless you're over, what is it, 60, 65, 70, I don't know. But somewhere in there, you cannot eat meat tomorrow, and you should fast a little bit, and you cannot eat meat on Good Friday. That's taken for granted, huh? But if I were you on Fridays, I think the church advises us to do some penance. Not meat is a big penance for some people. I don't particularly like meat, but I'm not a vegetarian, because I'm hungry if I eat only vegetables. So that doesn't work for me, you know. But you can do a penance on Friday, like be nice to your wife on Friday. Why don't you take your wife out for a fish dinner? Wouldn't that be a good idea? Sure it is. You could do a lot of things like that during Lent. It makes you more loving, more caring. That's the important thing. And remember, if you have children, teach them something about Friday sacrifice. And then that way you all learn together that love and sacrifice go together. It really does. And so all of us, we want to pray today, this month, for our Holy Father. He must have unbelievable burdens. Unbelievable. If you have all these millions and millions and millions of Catholics under your care as the shepherd. And we polished up the great gift he gave us a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to, well, somebody's going to carry it for, Corpus Christi. But let's remember the greatest gift in the world is to know Jesus. The greatest gift in the world is the Eucharist. There's no greater gift. When I can have Jesus in my soul and heart and body, there's no greater gift than to go to your church and just sit there and say, well, Lord, here I am, and I love you. There's no greater thing you can do. A short prayer, yes, but no prayer in the world is greater than to say, Jesus, I love you. It's true of us as human beings. It's true of your children when they say, I love you. It's true of everything. They say even plants know when you love them. I think that's true. One of our sisters can go to a big, beautiful little tree or big tree, and she'll cut off something, and boom. And when I do it, it goes boom. When she does it, it becomes a tree. But see, she loves trees. Well, I like trees. I don't love trees. So that's the difference. See, when she plants it, it grows. When I plant it, it seems to, even when I say, come on, cutie, grow. Regina will come up and she'll look at this plant. She said, come on, come on, come on, come on, come up, come up. And it grows. Well, anyway, remember, let's grow in holiness. And that's something all of us can do, and we must do. We must do, because time is short, very short. The days pass quickly, don't you think? And one day, there won't be ashes on our heads. There'll be ashes in the box, and you'll be it. So have a happy Ash Wednesday. Bye now.